together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. Take a look at the person next to you. Say, I recognize the God in you. Feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, every walk of life, every creed and color, in kinship we unite, in honor of God and each other. Take a look at the person next to you. Say namaste, I bow to you. Feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice, repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of
All right. We come together in the name of love. Let's give it up for the house band. All right, it's good to be back with you. My name is Reverend Michael McMorrow, otherwise known as the Masked Man. Good to be back with you this week. Thank you, Reverend Nancy, for holding down the fort last week. And of course, fellas, good job. I watched you all. You look very good on television, by the way.
Oh, good.
Much better than on my phone. So, and if you are watching us on Facebook Live, you can join us on YouTube at cslgh.org, or CSLGH actually. Just go on to YouTube and search that, and you can join us. So let's invite, I almost called you Reverend Dr. Nancy. Reverend Nancy Woods, who is our assistant minister here at our center, as we come together for our call to service, which we call Lighting the Flames of Faith. And so I invite you to join us by taking a deep, conscious breath and releasing and allowing ourselves to surrender to this eternal now moment as we come together in the name of love to celebrate the diversity of life, expressing as spiritual thought through our opening ritual we call Lighting the Flames of Faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. That fundamental to this truth is a unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this morning. So as Reverend Nancy lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. The third candle we light for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here at our center, online through this online service, and within our own hearts. And as we remember those who have fallen to this virus, those who are supporting those, our first line responders of all stripes, from healthcare to retail, let us place into the healing candle silently the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
There is one flame that burns in our hearts. There is one light that shines through our love. We light this flame with faith. We find this light within our own soul. There is one flame, one light within.
Within this flame of faith that we open our hearts and our minds for this service today, recognizing that this divine presence, this flame within each one of us, awaits our recognition of it, to give to us and give through us. So as we step into that recognition this morning and allow ourselves to accept that the Spirit of life loves living and expressing itself in us, through us, and as us, and we are able to appreciate that more and more, moment by moment, as we experience the expansive awareness of its presence. So this morning, as we listen to the music that is gifted to us, as we open our hearts to the words that are shared with us, we know that this time that we are spending together is a time in which each one of us receives a blessing, and we are willingly open ourselves to receive it. And understanding that it is that which we reach for is that which we receive. Because it is the divine presence itself that is guiding and directing that reach, that is guiding and directing us to know this truth, is guiding and directing us to express it through everything that takes place this morning. So this we experience with an open heart and a loving heart. And we willingly step into this service with love and invite each one of you in the audience out there to join us in knowing this truth together and acknowledging it as we say together. And so it is. And amen. Good morning. And as we continue to share our understanding in these broadcasts, what I find that during the week, it's like my mind is working to understand and what it is that it wants to come forth with. And this week was a little different. This week I found myself shying away a little bit from going back and forth with the spiritual work all day. I kind of relaxed and read some of my novels. But one of the things that I have to say that I did get into is that we started this book study on Tuesday. And it's about our lives and finding that niche in our lives. So when I started this book, I was in awe that this guy was talking about the Bhagavad Gita and how rich it was in guiding us and how to take action in our life. And I actually said, wow, this is interesting. When I think about the East, I think about them talking about going within and studying what's within us. When I think about the West, I think about action, action, action. So it was like, okay, it really made me want to really get into this book because I really wanted to understand. Something, I've read it before. I've been through it, all the way through it. But I never really saw it the way this guy is seeing it. And it's interesting because I think that what he helped me see was that in a lot of ways, I have been living mine in a lot of things a lot of the work that I have been involved in, especially being in my nursing career. I really felt like I was always in my niche when I did it. I always felt like I was always in the right places, and the jobs just showed up. I never had to go look for a job. The people always came to ask me to take the job. And when I took it, it was like such a joy to be in it. So I said, wow, I think I have been living it, and did not recognize that I've been living it. And I also realized that it was an experience where somewhere along the way, and I was doing it, and all of a sudden said, no more. And I just didn't want to give it up, so I stuck it out for another couple of years. And it was miserable, those 2 years. So when I said, okay, it is time for me to let this go. So it's like, wow, this guy could have known me and written about my life. So what I really found is that I'm ready to go back and read this Bhagavad Gita again. I'm ready to read it and understand it from where I am today. And I found that a lot of the books that we have read and studied, that we read years ago and we stuck them on the shelf, the richness that was in it, we can go back and get it from a different place in today's time. And to be aware that during this time, reach and get one that was kind of like, okay, reach and get one of those books and start it again and see where you are with it today. Because I realize that we are constantly being fed, and we are standing on the shoulders of those that did the work before us, and those that really went to that place of being as the autobiography of a yoga. The guy, when he described the guy that was mentoring him, he was talking about he could actually feel the spirit of life, the spirit of God, sitting at his feet. And all of a sudden, I totally understood where he was coming from. How you can, if you open your mind and your heart, you can see the Spirit of God being expressed by another being. And this is the richness of some of the literature and the readings that we have. And it's with this and my appreciation for this opportunity with myself that I say, take advantage of it and utilize it. And if you're free, join us on Tuesday as we study this book. It is very, very rich in what he has to share. And thank you for letting me share that.
Come gather around, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown. Accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone. For the times they are a-changing. Come writers and critics, prophesize with your pens, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming. For the loser now will later win, for the times they are a-changing. Come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall. For he that gets hurt will be he that who has stalled. For the battle outside that is raging will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls. For the times they are a-changing. Well, the line it is drawn, and the curse it is cast. The slow one now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last. For the times they are a-changing. For the times they are a-changing.
Perfect song.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah, because times are changing. Nice, nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. So would you say the declarations of principles with me? We believe in one universal spirit, manifesting through all, natural and incarnated in us. We believe the universal spirit is personal too and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes its presence. We believe our faith operates upon a law of mind, which automatically manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the unity of all life, the immortality of the individual soul, forever expanding. We believe in eternal goodness, eternal loving kindness, and the giveness of life to all. Hi, Tracy.
We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be.
Yeah, let's just breathe into that for a moment. We let the peace fall over us. It's a good message in times like this, eh? All right. So thanks again, Reverend Nancy, for holding down the fort last week. And I just wanted to let you know that as a teaching moment, that the reason why I was not here was because I had found I was informed that a couple weeks before that I had been exposed to someone who had recently tested positive to COVID-19. Now, I wasn't that concerned because it was almost 14 days since I had been exposed and I had had no symptoms and I was feeling fine. But I felt it was a good idea to stay safe at home until I got tested, just so these guys here wouldn't string me up when they found out that but no, just, because public health is consciousness too. Public health is a sign of consciousness too. So although I had no symptoms, I felt it was prudent to stay away and I got tested on Monday and found out on Thursday I have no virus. I tested negative. So here I am back again. So this is why we wear masks, by the way. It's not some liberal fear-obsessed sign of disloyalty to anyone, but rather a demonstration of consciousness of public health based on science. So although you, like me, maybe you're done with this mask thing. It is getting old. And but we must make like good Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts out there, and we must be prepared. And be prepared for what? Be prepared for life. To be prepared for life and to protect all of us. Not just the most vulnerable, but all of us, to protect all of us. So we can wear a mask and we can stay safely at home for a few more weeks until we get a handle on this thing, yeah? All right. For to be prepared for life is to be prepared for whatever our life purpose is, and that's what we're going to be speaking to today. So whether it's, and the truth is that we are constantly evolving. So whether it's from crawling to walking, taking those first steps out into the world, to exploring and remaining curious about the path we may find ourselves on any given day, we are continuing to evolve on this path of life. And so in this way then, the great work of our life then is not so much what we do for a living, but rather what is calling us, what we are being called in life to do. You know, first then, how well do we hear? And then in hearing the call, how do we heed the call? Because I don't think our experience is much different than what Reverend Nancy was speaking to, right? When we find our slot, when we find that career path, we may not know consciously or intellectually it's because we are answering a call, that we have answered a call to a vocation. We just see that, oh, our life is working out. Now this can be from anything from being a homemaker to a carpenter to a doctor and a politician and all of the things in between. First, do we hear the call? And then if we hear the call, what do we do with it? So let's do an affirmation right now. So just take a deep breath here. Today I answer the call to discover, liberate, and express my divine genius. Okay, go ahead and let's say this at home. Ready? Today I answer the call to discover, liberate, and express my divine genius. Okay, one more time like you mean it. Today I answer the call to discover, liberate, and express my divine genius. And so that's what we're going to play around with here today as we move into week 3 of this Listen to Your Heart. And this talk title today is The Great Work of Your Life. And so the question for this theme then is, what is Dharma? Discovering one's life purpose, uncovering what is one's sacred work, gifts, talents, and contribution to the world. We each have them. And what is our zone of genius? So we have before us, this unique opportunity like never before, to connect with that spirit within us and to attune our ear to the whispering call, should we choose to answer the call. That this call, this is a call that we are going to want to take, even if sometimes it may be the Spirit leaving that same old voicemail that maybe we've been ignoring for years. Or maybe not. These jokes are a lot better when you're in the room, by the way. So, or maybe, as within myself, maybe that call comes from when you're up the mountain, so to speak. Right? So in biblical times, there's a lot of imagery in the Hebrew Bible about going up the mountain to have an experience of the divine. So everyone has a calling. Everyone has a calling. Even several, I think, throughout a lifetime. So Thomas Merton, the monk and Christian, I would say, mystic, every man has a vocation to be someone, but he must understand clearly that in order to fulfill this vocation, he can only be one person, and that person is himself. So this is the great, then this becomes the great work in life. Now, in the Eastern tradition, we would call this calling or vocation can be known simply as Dharma, which I think is the most reliable definition about what's going on here. And it's probably more than you may think it is. So I'm taking these remarks from two books today. One is The Great Work of Your Life that Reverend Nancy spoke to in The Power of Eight. Many of us are going to be exploring this together. And the other is The World's Religions by Huston Smith, which is really kind of the seminal work on comparative religion. Huston Smith being a contemporary of Joseph Campbell and a professor at MIT and an extensive and academic study of many aspects of the world religions, and all of them have within it, by various names, this idea of Dharma, or vocations and callings. So, the Sanskrit word for Dharma, as used in the Bhagavad Gita, is so full of meaning, this is from Stephen Cope, is so full of meaning that it is impossible to grasp its full scope through any single English translation. Now, Dharma can be variously but incompletely translated as religious and moral law, right conduct, sacred duty, path of righteousness, true nature, divine order. And then I found this graphic to kind of illustrate this. So I cut it in half so that you might more easily read it. I don't know if you can read it on the screen or not. So you have your personal behaviors or yoga. You have virtues such as nonviolence, truthfulness, and purity. Now these are just a few, right? That rituals and rites of passage and worship of God, that there's a spiritual practice and a worship component to Dharma, and that it has within it law and justice and duties, sacred duties, right? Such as learning from teachers and service and volunteering. And then also it acknowledges that there are stages of life that we're all moving through, right? So, and in Hinduism, of course, they speak to the duty of the householder. So they've really kind of worked this whole thing out several thousand years ago. And so all of them together make up the various components of Dharma. Now, this is more of the Hindu approach, but also if you are familiar with the Eightfold Path out of Buddhism, you will recognize a lot of similarities, for Buddhism pulled these Hindu traditions forward, that Siddhartha pulled a lot of these teachings forward into his own teachings. So, right conduct, sacred duty, path of righteousness, true nature, divine order. So in the same way that a fingerprint is unique upon the individual, one's Dharma is unique to each person. Okay? So a fingerprint being unique to each person's Dharma is also like an internal, is like an internal fingerprint. It is the subtle interior blueprint of a soul. Excuse me just a second. So René Gagnon, which I'm guessing is the Spanish or the French pronunciation, in his book, The Introduction to the Study of Hindu Doctrines, wrote this. It's kind of an academic version. Dharma is the essential nature of a being. Dharma is the essential nature of a being, comprising the sum of its particular qualities or characteristics and determining, by virtue of the tendencies of dispositions it implies, the manner in which this being will conduct itself, either in a general way or in relation to each particular circumstance. So can you tell a philosopher wrote that? They're covering all the bases, right? So Stephen Cope distills this down, that the word dharma in this teaching then refers to the peculiar and idiosyncratic qualities of each being. So each one of us then is peculiar and idiosyncratic. Those very essential and particular qualities that make it somehow itself. Now the curious thing about this is that each one of us in our uniqueness is also at the same time demonstrating the wholeness and allness of the higher self, or the one spirit. Just as all the many fingerprints of people demonstrate humanity, which is kind of a trippy thing, right? So if there's close to 8 billion of us, and no two fingerprints are alike, 8 billion of us, and no two dharmas or callings exactly alike. Now, this ancient wisdom often points the way to a transcendent truth about life, that to be happy, to be fulfilled, to be our most effective selves, is to be aligned then with our Dharma. This is what I think we would call in the West authenticity. Authenticity. For isn't it true, do we not find it difficult to find satisfaction in living a lie? And yet at the same time, life is so full of distractions that look like, oh, this is what I've always wanted. And then we get it only to discover this isn't it. Right? Or is there nothing more? So again, in the Bhagavad Gita, this is one of the questions that in the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, the chariot that they're riding on is just the vehicle for them to have this conversation about transcendent truths about life. And so this book, The Great Work of Our Life, is about vocation and calling, but it's also like a probably a first grade primer for people like myself from the West who are not as familiar with the ancient text, which I believe is also called the Song of God. So we find ourselves in this safe at home situation, regardless of what state and whatever state our state is in, and various stages of opening. We have within us a unique opportunity that really may never come again, hopefully, in our lifetime. Whether you're looking at the finish line or the starting line, hopefully we will not have to go through this again in the way that we're going through it. But we do have this unique opportunity where some of our many distractions now have been taken away. Have you noticed this? Like when we first started going into this safe at home, I think many people went, all right, paid non-vacation days. 14, remember, because in the beginning it looked like it was going to be a 14-day thing. We're going to flatten the curve in 14 days. Oh, goody, I have more time to study. I can finally binge watch all those old Outlander videos on Netflix. Think of all the money I can save on not dining out. Maybe these things worked for the first few weeks when the weather was poor and we needed to rest. But now, with the nice weather, maybe the rest has turned into restlessness. We're tired of cleaning house and eating our own cooking. We may miss our friends. We may even miss not coming to church. Now, that's a desperate notion, right? But what we know as religious scientists is that all of this stuff is presenting itself as our life on this canvas. And really, in a most unique way, we are actually kind of looking at a blank canvas where we have this opportunity to be still and to listen to that divine itch, to that little nudge that, and we all have them, that up until now we have managed to ignore, to push down, to just keep behind us. And now it's, try as we may, it's still kind of showing itself. This may be in simple ways, right? Maybe to journal more, to read more, right? So not just to read to get information, but to read for pleasure, to enrich the imagination, right? And in this way, engage in creative activities. It's funny how creativity works, because you can be thinking about one thing and it'll bubble up somewhere else. How many of us have had that great idea while taking a shower, right? It's that kind of an idea. Now, if you think about what's going on in a shower, right? It's quiet. We're focused on one thing. Maybe it's just the pleasure of the water flowing around us or whatever, but it's like our time to just focus up. And it's interesting to me how things bubble up, right? And we're not sitting on the cushion, because for so many, I know the idea of sitting still on a cushion, right? Oh, I can't meditate. Well, everyone can meditate. Everyone can meditate. This is the truth, right? Some days we may have trouble sitting still. And unfortunately, really, the only way that you're going to get better at sitting still is to practice sitting still, right? But yet in that practice then, you'll be amazed what kinds of things can bubble up, and also reaching deeper levels of serenity that up until now may not have been available, particularly as we move into these next few weeks, right? It's going to be up to us as people of faith to create these spaces of peaceful abiding, and to also know a greater truth than the one that's being demonstrated and sometimes shoved down our throats. So before, we were being marketed with stuff and things, and not that that's not still happening, okay? But now we're being marketed all kinds of ideas, some of them crazy, some of them science. The truth is that we have to be able to sit with all of it and sift the BS from the ice cream, and allow ultimately the truth, the divine truth that is underneath all of it, to make itself known, and to make itself known within our unique expression of life, within our own unique understanding of life. Because what we are teaching here, really, in the religious science teaching, is that we are here to experience the infinite power and presence of the divine as life, as our life. Not only that, not only to consider the infinitude of the universe, but to know that in some crazy cosmic way that there's a relationship going on here, that there is a call and response going on, that as we speak our word into this universal field, if you will, that there is the ear of the divine itself, that is responding to it, bound only by the limitations that we ourselves in our own human, small self, smaller personality, egoic self, place on it in restrictions. Now, we don't do this knowingly. We don't do this knowingly, right? And still, if we understand and know that there is this infinite power and presence, a living intelligence impressing and expressing itself through all of the universe, including right where we are, then we engage with it and co-create our experience with it. We understand that all of life is our canvas, and that we can make a work of art out of any of the materials of the universe, including those that are before us right now. Regardless of what we think of it, regardless of the challenge that may be within it, that with spiritual mind treatment, a mental treatment, we can co-create an experience that transforms a life that may appear to be more of a sow's ear, that we can transform that into a silk purse. So Ernest Holmes said that the universe holds nothing against us. No matter how many mistakes we have made, we are still perfect beings within, and that the within may become the without if we carefully train ourselves to listen to the inner voice of truth, which speaks to us in our moments of quietness and solitude. So can you think of any other time in your life up until now where this has not been more pertinent? That really, this is the first calling, is just to be still and to know that there is one power, one presence, one source, one life of God, expressing in, through, and as all of life, including your life. That the only thing necessary here is your willingness to step into that truth, to step into the infinite field of possibilities for good, to allow this infinite field to express itself as your life. That everything that the Spirit is in the large, you and I are in the small. Like the drop of a single drop of seawater to the vast ocean, that we too, a consciousness of the small self, an expression of the larger self, an expression of the very life of God expressing uniquely as you. And so I invite you this week, as you consider what is the next big thing for me, to not leave the Spirit out of it. In fact, to begin with the end in mind by taking time to sit on the cushion, to sit in the chair, and just say to ourselves, Holy Spirit alive in the soul of me, my sacred friend, make yourself known to me in ways that up until now may have been hidden from me, that I am now I am now ready to open my heart, to open my mind, to open my sight, so that I might greater see your glory expressing itself in, through, and as all of life, that I allow it to express fully and completely as my biologic temple, that I know that I'm aligning right now with the pattern of perfection that is creating a field of immunity that keeps me strong, that I am open and receptive to new and creative ideas that are infusing me even now with any challenge, whether in career, with cash flow, within my relationships, that I am now open to be infused with the divine download of good, knowing that my life is the vehicle by which and for which the living Spirit of God itself expresses itself in life and in the lives of those around me. And this is a good thing. And so as we go through our week this week, let us stay attuned in a more conscious way to the song of life, to the song of God, to allow that Spirit to make itself known in all of the various unique imprints of good. And so it is. Amen.
Well, I rode that ribbon highway. I saw above me the endless sky. I saw below me the golden valley. Oh, this land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, followed my footsteps through the sparkling sands of her diamond desert, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. Well, the sun came shining, and I was strolling through the wheat fields waving, the dust clouds rolling, and the bells were ringing as the fog was lifting, saying this land was made for you and me. Sunday morning, in the shadow of a steeple, by the relief office, I saw the people, and they were hungry, and they were wondering if this this land was made for you and me. Oh, this land is your land. Oh, this land is my land. From California to the New York Alley, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water, yeah. Well, this land was made for you and me. Yes, this land was made for you and me.
Very nice. Thank you. Yeah, this land is made for you and me. And not just for the fortunate few. Or what was it Dylan said? Where the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Somebody else said that like 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
All right. So, we are at that time in our service where we would like to invite you to support our center and to support this effort of through donating to the church. So if you're online and watching, which hopefully you're still there and haven't signed off yet, there's this little donate button on the website. You can hit it there, and then also on the let me do it this way. There's also a place on the YouTube channel, because I explored this week. I should say last week when I was home. So can you get a close-up on this, Mike? So this is a picture of our YouTube channel way over here. Way over here, there are these 4 icons that you can see. And if you click on, there's a little PayPal icon on there. PayPal is the portal that we use to support ourselves through donations. When you do that, you're going to get to this page. This is our portal to the, and if you want to hit this donate with a debit or credit card. Unless you have a PayPal account, then you already know what you're doing, but you can make a one-time donation here with the debit or credit card. If you're watching on Facebook, you can go to our Facebook. We have a donate button on our Facebook page, which also you can use. That's safe and secure. Or you can continue to mail in your donations. And the easiest way, of course, is to use Bill Pay. When you are online paying your gas bill and water bill, you can just simply write CSLGH in the memo and plug in your donation. And if you would be so kind to make it a recurring donation, that would be dynamite, whether it's monthly, bi-weekly, weekly, daily. No, we don't need you to do that. All right, so, and so we have the gifts that have been presented by Bill Pay and through mail. I have them here with us now as Ken and Jason are going to take us into our offering song.
3, 4. Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me. Spirit lives and breathes through me. Spirit gives through us. Spirit receives through us. Spirit lives and breathes through us. Spirit lives breathes through us. Spirit lives and breathes through us. Spirit lives and breathes through us.
So going within for just a moment longer, recognizing and knowing that the gifts presented here in the basket through the week, whether through the mail or through online giving, that all of it is a demonstration of consciousness of the individual that knows and knows that it knows that God is our source, our substance, our supply. And so through the generosity of the individual, as evidenced by these gifts, we, representing the heart of this spiritual community, accept these gifts with deep love and respect, as we know together they go forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless not only the vision and mission of this center and this online ministry, but also to support in consciousness all of our people connected to this center in any way, whether in any way. So we're also blessing our friends in our community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, schools, universities, businesses, the people who attend them, the people who support them, that we know that all of it is an emanation from the very mind of the Spirit itself, that we see even in the greater world, within the planet itself, an expression of the divine when we attune our sight that way, that we see, as we know this truth, we see this power demonstrating in all ways, great and small. That's a good thing. And so together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. And so thank you for being here. Let's give it up for Ken and Jason online.
It was Jason's birthday the 14th.
Oh, that's right.
That was last Tuesday, right?
Yeah, Thursday.
Thursday, okay.
Thursday.
So you were safe at home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
When I was 26, I think the Red Onion was the place to stay out of.
Oh, yeah, I remember
If
that
you didn't
place.
want a thick head the next day.
That
Yeah.
was out in Canova
All right,
Park.
so you dodged a bullet this year. Good for you. All right. And then we have Evan and Mike Carlin in the back. We could not do this without you guys, so thank you for coming in early. And of course, the lovely Reverend Nancy Woods, who is now going to come forward, pray us out. You guys have a good week. Stay safe at home, stay masked, and I'll see you next week.
It is with the consciousness of gratitude that I thank each and every one of you for joining us. Joining us to know and to understand that we are being blessed with each aspect of our experience that we share together. Because it is an energy of sharing that comes forth. And as the music is shared, the message is shared, the participation that is shared by each and every person brings to the experience a richness, a consciousness that is expecting more, and out of that expectation of more, a greater experience of life begins to take place. So as I know that each thing that has unfolded today and each person that has participated has brought to the experience a greater sense of the divine presence in our life, for our life, and as our life. And as we go forth from this experience, we take this richness with us, knowing that this blessing has invited us to live more fully, to embrace more joy and peace. And we do so with a consciousness of acceptance and appreciation. And I invite each and every one of you to embrace the truth with us as we say together, and so it is, and I am I.
Please join us at home for the peace song. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
it was meant to be, with God as the power, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Thank you all on Facebook. I saw you on there, Christine Jeffers. Good to see you. Stay safe at home, and we'll see you next week or Wednesday night for meditation if you like. For those of us who are local, we'll see you on the fellowship on Zoom in 15 minutes. Bye now.